Hey tribe, have you ever said yes to something that made you want to hide, but you did it anyway to keep the peace? Or said yes to some request and regretted it immediately? I know I have. People do not violate your boundaries, you just never set any. And I say this with love because I've lived it. For most of my life, I was the queen bee of people pleasing with zero boundaries. And some people, as they should, took advantage of that. So today, we're talking about setting healthy boundaries.
This is Soul Sense Empowerment by Estar. Heal your mind and body, elevate your spirit, empower you.
But before we go any further, let's get clear about some things. A boundary is not an attitude. It's not about cutting people off, then posting a quote about protecting your energy. A boundary is a limit you set to protect your time, your energy, your resources, your mind, your body, and your spirit or your essence. Like Sharon Martin says in the Better Boundaries workbook, a boundary defines what's okay for you and what is not. It's your personal guideline for what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to tolerate. It's not about being distant, it's about being clear. And researchers in this field have narrowed down the types of boundaries we all need, 7 of them in total. Most people think, boundaries are just about saying no to energy vampires or to people who drain the life out of you. But no, your boundaries should apply to everyone and everything, not just people, but situations as well. So these 7 boundaries are interlinked, and when one is off, you will feel it everywhere. So let's break this down. Number 1, mental boundaries. You have to remember your mind is sacred. If someone is pushing an idea or an opinion that does not align with your values, you can say, hey, I respect your view, but I don't want to debate this. You are not being difficult doing this. You're just protecting your mental space. Number 2, emotional boundaries. Remember this, you are not responsible for how someone else feels, period. You can say, okay, I care about you, but I can't hold this right now. That's not being cold. That's your emotional maturity. You are not an emotional dumping ground. Number 3, material boundaries. This is your money, your clothes, your Wi-Fi password. All of these count. If sharing drains you, it's a signal. Just say, I'm not comfortable doing that. You don't need a backstory or an explanation or justification. We talked about in the last video. We talked about this in the last video. If sharing leaves you feeling resentful, that's not generosity, that's obligation. Number 4, physical boundaries. Your body is not public property. You don't have to hug people or shake their hands if you don't want to. You can say, I'm not up for that today, but it's good to see you. That's self-respect. Number 5, internal boundaries. These are the ones you have between you and you. When you say you are done, mean it. When you say you're going to rest, rest. You can't enforce boundaries with other people if you're still breaking them with yourself. It starts with you, internal boundaries. Number 6, conversational boundaries. You don't have to stay in draining conversations out of politeness, gossip, trauma dumping, politics. You're allowed to say, I would rather talk about something else. For me, recently, someone tried to pull me into Kenyan politics at a social event. And I said to him, not today, my friend. I don't have enough bandwidth for that download right now. I'd rather talk about the heat wave we've been experiencing. And that's not because I don't care. It's just that for me, politics drain the life out of me. You protect your energy like it's a resource because it is. Number 7, time boundaries. Your time is holy, period. You can tell someone, I'm only free for 30 minutes, or I don't do calls after 8 p.m. That's clarity. And clarity is kindness. So next time you say, I need better boundaries, check which one of these 7 is leaking first. So why is it that most of us don't set boundaries? Why do we know we are overwhelmed and still say yes to people and situations that keep us more overwhelmed? If boundaries are so necessary, why is setting them so hard? Well, according to psychological research and cognitive behavioral principles, there are 4 common obstacles to this. So let's break them down, and then we're going to explore some tools we can use to navigate them. Number 1, guilt. Most of us think protecting our peace means abandoning others. Refusing to engage in politics about your own country means you don't care. You have to remember, guilt is a learned emotional response, especially if you're raised to equate compliance with love. So instead of asking, am I being selfish for not doing ABCD? Ask yourself, am I being honest with myself? That shift alone will set you free. For example, for me, I don't like talking politics. It leaves me annoyed, angry, and frustrated. So I prefer not to engage in it unless I can make a difference. So what tool can you use to ease the guilt? Write a compassionate permission statement and repeat it. It's okay to prioritize myself. Saying no doesn't make me unkind. It makes me clear on where I stand. You can either write this physically on a piece of paper or as a mental note. Number 2, fear of conflict. This is when you'd rather avoid discomfort than risk being misunderstood. Of course, not everyone will love your boundaries, and that's not a crisis. That is a filter. This is how you know. And remember, avoiding external conflict often leads to internal conflict. So you have a choice. You either upset them for a moment or you upset yourself indefinitely. That's your choice. And the tool you can use this is practice using non-defensive language. For example, you can say, I understand this may not be what you hoped to hear, but this is what's best for me. Number 3, low self-worth. If you don't believe you deserve better, you won't ask for it. Boundaries are not something you earn after proving your worth. They are something you are entitled to just because you exist. You are a human being and you're entitled to have your boundaries. You build worthiness by keeping promises to yourself. Small ones at first, daily, and that's how you're going to progress your self-trust and respect. That's how you're going to cultivate it for yourself. And the tool you can use this for internal boundaries is journaling. Write down what drains you, what restores you, what energizes you, and how you can protect yourself from whatever drains you. Number 4, and this one is a doozy, people pleasing. Somewhere along the way, you were taught to trade your yes for love. You were taught to ensure everyone else was okay before yourself. Disappointing someone is not a betrayal. Abandoning yourself is. This is what psychologists call the approval trap. And escaping it starts with noticing when your yes is based on fear instead of alignment. And the tool we can use for this is, for example, you delay your yes or you delay your response. You say to someone, let me think about it and get back to you. That sacred pause lets your spirit speak before your habit kicks in. Boundaries are not rejection, they are revelations. They show you and everyone else who you are and what you value. Boundaries are not just for drama control or keeping the peace or keeping the vampires away. They are essential to maintaining good mental health. Researchers in mental health have stated that this is a core part of emotional regulation, identity protection, and psychological safety. So what does this mean? When your boundaries are strong, your mind will stop living in crisis mode. You are less anxious because you are not bracing for the next request. Then you're also going to be less resentful because you are not overgiving. You'll also become more grounded because you finally taught your nervous system, hey, we are not a 24-hour convenience store anymore. Healthy boundaries will literally rewire your brain to feel safe again. And when safety is your baseline, peace becomes your home frequency. It becomes you, it becomes part of you. Because boundaries don't push people away. They just stop letting the wrong ones stay for too long. So a few years ago, when I was the queen bee of people pleasing with no boundaries, a friend asked me for help to help plan a party. Of course, I said yes, no questions asked. I thought, I'll be helping with the menu or a few decorations. But suddenly, when I got there, I was doing everything, driving back and forth, picking up drinks, folding chairs, putting up tents. And then when the guests arrived, she introduced everyone except me. Not a mention, not a nod. I was just the help, just skipped like an ad. And that's when it hit me. Of course, I overextended. And people, we treat you how you train them to treat you. So what does a healthy boundary look like? According to the Better Book Boundaries, I love this book by Sharon, boundaries work best when they are specific, clear, and assertive, not aggressive. For example, if you say to someone, I'm not available after 7 p.m., let's connect tomorrow, or I don't have the capacity to help with that at this moment. And that's it. You don't need drama, you don't need dialogue, you don't need explanation, just your truth with love and kindness. This way, you are clear and assertive, and also gives the person making a request an option based on your responses. In metaphysics, there's something they call the law of resonance, which teaches that your internal state, your beliefs, your emotions, your energy, they vibrate out into the world. And then you attract experiences that match that vibration. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you aligned with. You attract what you energetically allow. And if you are faith-based like me, let me show you how this isn't just a metaphysical theory, it's a spiritual law. The Bible teaches us that whatever you sow, that you shall also reap. My mom used to tell us this all the time. And of course, I didn't know what it meant at the time. But now I think it means your energetic sowing or your vibrations, whether through thought, action, emotions, or belief, creates the harvest you live in. And this is in direct alignment with the law of resonance. And that's exactly what happened after I started applying these principles. I ran into that friend again about 10 years later. And of course, I had noticed this pattern with so many other people. I made a quiet decision. No more overfunctioning. No more over-accommodating. I stepped back. No drama, no fight, just distance. When I met this friend a few years later, she tried her little undermining moves again. But this time, I said what needed to be said, calmly, firmly, and with grace. I think she was in shock, or she didn't have a comeback. I didn't raise my voice. I simply raised my standards. And I walked away proud because for once, I didn't abandon myself to make someone else comfortable. So we've now established that setting boundaries is good for your mental health. So if you want to enhance your mental health on a super level, here are some 3 practices that are good with setting healthy boundaries. Number 1, have a pre-approved no list. Know your limits before anyone asks. If they are asking for last-minute favors, weekend work, emotional chaos, if that's an already no in your list, you're not reacting. You're simply reinforcing your boundary. Number 2, the sacred pause. This is helpful if the request is not on your pre-approved no list. So instead of rushing to say yes or no, say, let me sit with that for a moment and get back to you. This will give you time to decide your action. This sacred pause leads directly to practice number 3, the energy audit. After every interaction or request, ask yourself, will doing this give me life or take it? Did me doing that leave me energized or drained? Did that leave me loving or resentful? So, for example, if you agree to something and after an energy audit, you realized it drained you, that's a clue that you need a boundary in that area. Even Jesus had boundaries. He walked away many times. He rested. He said no without explanation. And he actually said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Boundaries are not rebellion. They are reverence, not walls, but alignment. You are not mean for choosing yourself. You are not cold for protecting your energy. You are simply finally living like your energy is sacred. So remember this, people do not overstep. You are just under boundary or have no boundaries at all. But now, my friend, you are embodied, you are empowered, you are awake, you walk in clarity. So subscribe if you're done leaking energy and ready to stand in your divine capacity. And share this with someone who needs to hear it, or someone who is leaking energy everywhere. This is empowerment, and you're right on time. In gratitude, bye for now.